Many experts also are saying that aging is a sickness and therefore it could be cured. Do you agree with that?
You could literally kind of say that aging itself is also a sickness because, if you have any sickness, you are feeling worse or you kind of try to treat it. And
Do you believe in immortality?
honestly, even now, like there is a lot of scientific advancement, but
Would you want to live forever?
I would suggest let's start with George. I'm curious in my opinion about the topic.
Not really, no.
But now, let me ask you. You are now 80 years old and you have more or less the physical performance of a 50, 60-year-old person. Do you want to die? That's why I like this topic. It's a bit controversial. We say very fast no.
You are a female CEO with an impressive professional track record. How has this journey been, being a woman?
Yeah, it's a good question always. I hope that one day we live in a place where that's not even a question.
Good morning, Giorgio. How are you doing today?
Hey, good morning, Ivan. Great. How about you?
It's a sunny day here in Solothurn where I live, so I'm happy. This is not the usual case normally. So yeah, I took a walk before the podcast, so I'm in a good mood for this episode. It's another special episode. We have another special guest with us, Ildikó Sirman. Is it Sirman or Sherman?
You can say really both. Sirman, it's originally because I'm from
Sherman.
Hungary, but yeah, now I have been living so long here that I'm listening also if someone is saying Sirman.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's Sherman because I know that the capital of Hungary is Budapest, right? And it's an S. So my Spanish brain assumed that it's the same here.
You are correct. You are
Okay,
correct.
that's good. Ildikó, aka Ildi, how are you doing today? Are you ready?
Hello. Yes, I'm ready. I'm very excited to be in your podcast. I think we have some really interesting topics to discuss about.
We do. Yes, we are going to talk about longevity, and it's a trending topic right now. People are really, I don't know if they're scared about death or something. Maybe we can discuss that. It's an interesting topic. It just came to my mind. But yeah, Ildi, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to give you a list. You are, as you said, originally from Hungary. You are CEO of a startup. You are a mother. You are a wife of a Spanish husband.
Yes.
You are an Atlético de Madrid fan. And that requires a lot of effort, right? Because you need to watch all the matches and all that. And you speak 4 different languages fluently. One of them, my language, Spanish, that you learn in, I don't know, a couple of months maybe. That's crazy when you told me. Actually, when you told me in Spanish. And then you say in your LinkedIn that you speak German natively. What's the background of that? Why do you speak a language that is not Hungarian, apart from Hungarian, that you speak natively German? Why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, let's say close to native. Yeah. I mean, if native, I think it's literally when you're born in a country and you have been living there. Yeah, I mean, when I was very young, I mean, I grew up in Hungary, maybe just to starting with that. I started around the age of 8 years old to learn German, and it was quite clear from the beginning that somewhat I really interested to learn languages and so on. And my parents were also supporting me to get like extra German classes. So actually by the time I was, 15, 16 years old, I was really speaking already fluently German.
Mm.
And I came to Switzerland actually when I was 20 years old. And by that time, I mean, I would say that my German was around C2 level. I did also some exams, so it was already like quite good. And then, of course, living here for 18 years, although I'm not sure if this helped or not helped because, in Switzerland we have Swiss German, so maybe some aspect of my German is not that great anymore if you are talking about grammar and so on from the standard high German, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course, living here now, this is kind of my second language.
Why did you move to Switzerland when you were 20 years old? So why specific Switzerland?
So that has actually personal reasons why Switzerland. And also in addition to the personal reasons, so I got actually a very interesting job offer, which is also quite funny story. This was a fashion retailer, a company, Charles Vögele, Unfortunately, the company doesn't exist anymore. But it was really a huge Swiss company, and they were planning to expand to Hungary. And they needed someone who really speaks well German and Hungarian and also English.
Mhm.
And you know, like by that time, it was not as easy to find people who speak Hungarian in Switzerland because we did not have yet these bilateral agreements with the EU. So you
Okay.
did not have so many people. It was actually quite challenging to get someone from Hungary to move to Switzerland. And it was very interesting because I heard about this job from a headhunter who told me about it, like, well, that's very exciting. And then the headhunter told me, you know, we have already some candidates quite far advanced in the process. So I don't know, I will see if I can still get you in. And then some days later, he came back to me and actually he rejected me for the position. And I was thinking, like, no, I'm not going to let reject. I'm not going to accept. So I literally just applied directly with the company. They invited me in an interview while I was actually visiting by that time my boyfriend who lived in Switzerland. And it was literally evening, I think like 5 or 6 in the afternoon when they called me, hey, could you come to an interview? And I literally told them, yes, of course. When? Well, maybe like 9 in the morning tomorrow. Like, of course. That was the moment I realized I didn't have any clothes with me. I didn't prepare myself, so I needed to go to shopping, you know, just to wearing some suit or something nice for the interview. But I get basically the job. And the funny thing was that when I got the job, I received from the headhunter another email where the headhunter was saying, look, I'm really sorry to say, but they filled the position with someone else. I mean, that's kind of a good learning, right? Like you need to push for your goals and you should not give up. And just because someone is telling you no, you should, yeah, try still. And this is how actually everything started. So
Mm-hmm. It's quite interesting. And he didn't get his part of the commission, right? Yeah, exactly. That's good. This move to Switzerland, do you think it helped you in any way professionally or even also personally? What's your opinion? In comparison with staying in Hungary, do you think it helped in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I think I really needed to grow up very fast because when I came here with 20 years old, I literally didn't have like, you know, any support. I was completely on my own financially and so on as well. So it really needed to, you know, just make that effort. And I mean, maybe we mentioned that later, but I've been during this period of time when I came to Switzerland. I have been before studying in Hungary, so I did already 3 semester at the university. So for me was kind of a very interesting thinking process. Do I really want to get now here a job or continue to study? And I knew I want to finish my university, so that was something very important for me. So basically then my next move in Switzerland was after being 6 months at this company. I just told them, look, I love this job, but I really want to study, so we need to figure out something. And I think that kind of thing what I needed to do, like, you know, sustain myself financially with 20 years old in Switzerland, an expensive country, and then studying so that I can finish my university degree in Switzerland and so on. That was like literally a very, very, very hard time. So those 4 years of my life when I was studying and working together were extremely intense, and I think that's definitely changed also my mindset. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that it has kind of an impact where I am today.
It's actually interesting that you're saying that that was challenging when you're now the CEO of a company, right? So of a startup concretely. So I guess it changes also the perception, right?
I mean, you know, I guess I was always kind of going for the hard stuff.
Okay.
So, because when I finished actually university, you know, you could have said, well, okay, now I don't need to study, I can just get a job. But that point, basically, on the same day I finished university, I started a new job at a startup, which was absolutely a craziness. So, you know, those times were literally the kind of startup stories which you here sometimes working day and night and do everything for your startup. So yeah, I think I just like this kind of lifestyle. And yeah.
You studied business administration and HR management in Zurich, right? And actually, when I met you, you were, I think back then you were already head of HR. So I assume that you started as a recruiter. right? This is kind of the normal path, at least for me in my mindset. But actually, I checked in your LinkedIn and you started in IT customer support. Why that? Why customer IT, concretely customer support?
So that was still in Hungary. So I was studying at the university, and during the semester break, there was an opportunity to work for a corporate company. I mean, in Hungary, they have a lot of these kind of outsourcing centers, and they were looking also for customer support agents, so to say, for bigger companies like Continental, Kraft Food, like airlines, Swiss Airlines, and so on. Like there were a lot of different type of international companies who had IT support in Hungary. And yeah, basically, I was then offered the job. And I was also a bit crazy by that time, again, with the work-life balance, because I pretty much said, well, actually, I liked so much this job during the semester break that I said, well, actually, I would like to do that job full time. Which meant that I was actually working full time and studying even in Hungary. And that was actually hard because it was the only way I was able to manage university and the job was that I was doing 12-hour shifts a lot of times during the night and the weekend. So a lot of times I literally went at 7 p.m. to work and finished at 7 in the morning. And then I went to the university. I had some of my lessons and I went home to sleep. So it was again a bit of a crazy period, but I loved it. It was an amazing job, to be honest. I really loved it.
How did you cope with that lifestyle? Was it because you were young and you could do everything and this kind of, because right now for me, just thinking about it, I would die, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely also die. Look, I mean, I really don't want to, promote this kind of culture of work, 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 and so on. But I have to also say that for me, in all of this position, the common thing was that I was just really enjoying it. And I think that's kind of the key. So if it's just about working, working all the time, I mean, that's not healthy and not good. But for me, it was really like I was learning so much. I was able to use my languages. It was an amazing team. So for me, it was just a really great experience, and it was working. So yeah.
Then you started as a recruiter. I saw it also on LinkedIn. And then you moved to HR manager and also head of HR, which is when I met you, I think. And then you ended up being managing partner and COO of a Swiss unicorn called Numbers, right? How was this transition for you? Like going from IT support to COO of a unicorn?
Well, I mean, it took a lot of years, right? So there were several steps in it. I mean, you mentioned the recruiting, so that was basically with the two headhunting companies, IT recruitment companies, with like very big ones. Was very interesting and very good. But I felt actually my kind of problem was with those jobs that it was very corporate in a way because they were very big organizations. So I kind of felt that nice, good, but I'm just like I just want to do different things. And I think that was literally when the opportunity with this startup came. And it was also like a really coincidence because I was even thinking if I want to apply to it. The job they were advertising like it's in Winterthur. And by that time I was living like almost 2 hours from there. And I was thinking, well, it sounds so good, like a startup, being the first HR person, you can kind of build it up from the scratch. Like, oh, well, that sounds good. And then I decided, okay, I just gonna apply it. And it was funny because it turned out actually that they were just moving to Zurich office. So it was so that's also kind of a learning, like just go for it, don't think too much about it, and you will see. And that's kind of how opportunities come. And it was really nice because it was really something without rules. You were able to build up everything from the scratch. It was a very exciting time. This company was still very small and we were growing super, super, super fast. So that was kind of my main goal there also to, on one hand, to help to build up the team, but then also, come up with processes, how we want to do certain things like, and evaluating the performance of employees, how we can keep them motivated and so on. And that's a very challenging thing at the startup because you really literally need to reinvent it all the time. Like you had a lot of people, we had a lot of people who were, for example, with the company for a year or two. And then we started to see that we kind of started to attract like different type of people, and it was very difficult to see that how you bring this together in the culture. It was a very exciting time. And I mean, I had a lot of luck also that I had there very supportive people who were also giving me more responsibility, and that's how I, so to say, step by step over the years, then became head of HR. Then I was chief of staff to the CEO and the COO, so I was able to work with them very closely and work in learning from them a lot. And yeah, then one point with more responsibilities, I was also then one of the managing partners, and then the latest stage, the CEO of the company.
And how did you adapt to this? Like when you start with a really small company with a couple of people, it's not the same. Like whenever you grow, like when you have 10 people, it's different. When you have 50 people, is different than that. And then 100 is different than that. And you have to adapt even the values, the strategies. How do you learn? Because I guess you didn't know about that when you joined the company, right? You were coming from recruiting. So how do you learn and adapt to that on the way?
I mean, a lot of things are like on the job, right? You are kind of figuring out things. So it's
Yeah.
not really a lot of guide. I mean, of course, you can always, read books or try to learn from other people as well. But in the end, just to kind of experiencing yourself and thinking about what are the problems, and you're learning a lot and you're making a lot of mistakes. So, I mean, if I would do the same job I was doing by that time, there is so many things I would also, just do differently, because it's true that once you went through this situation, you get a lot of experience with it. So yeah.
With such an important position that you got here, why did you decide eventually to search for something else?
Mm. So that was actually one of the biggest reason was that the company had a very different direction by that time. So originally our idea was really to build a multi-banking app, and that was kind of where we were working on, and was very successful. We had a lot of users in Germany, but then there were a lot of things, like some regulatory changes, which made our job a bit more difficult, also on those key markets where we were already. Then we also had some fundraising difficulties during COVID time and so on. And in the end, we kind of restructured the company and went into a very different idea. So actually, the company now is more in the crypto area. They offer kind of a custody account, so it's not anymore like a banking app, but it was originally. And for me, I mean, I've been there 9 years long, and for me, that kind of moment, okay, this is now changing. It literally made me also to think about it, what I really want to do as well, and do something else. And also, I think it was just not the right place anymore for me, also on a personal level. Like, I became mom by that time, and I just really felt that this is not anymore kind of the right match with what I want to do and how I want to progress also in my life. And actually, it was interesting because I have been only like making this decision for myself. And I said, okay, now I kind of want to slow down and maybe, not do something crazy a bit, just to kind of recover from this. But it was
Didn't
actually
happen.
it just happened. It's like literally within 2 weeks of deciding that, okay, I'm interested, so something else, I just saw a company that was Maximum, a longevity company builder, where I was literally saying, okay, this is like super exciting, and okay, let's just talk to them and have some interviews with them. And yeah, and some weeks later, I was literally, okay, so I think nothing about my small sabbatical. This is way too exciting, and they have very exciting project now. So yeah, let's just jump into it. And I think honestly, this was one of the best professional decisions of my life to start with Maximum. It was really, really a good decision to make this move.
You join as operating partner of Maximum, right? What does Maximum do?
So Maximum is a longevity company builder. I guess I
Mhm.
need to kind of explain already two words here. What longevity is and what is a company builder. So I mean, interestingly, probably now everyone has a bit of an idea of what it could be longevity because you hear it all over the spaces, but longevity. But in 2021, it was literally for me the first time I was hearing about that. Like it's not like everyone knew it and so on. So longevity has a lot of different definition, and for me personally, it's not about that. I don't know. I want to become now immortal or 120 years old or these kind of things. But for me, it's more about how we can stay also healthy in our later stage of our life and what we can do about it. And this has a lot of different kind of topics involved in it. We can think about longevity, about our health, but we can think about longevity the way of working. We can, if we are getting, older and stay still active, then we're not gonna be retired probably at 65 anymore, and you have like multiple career paths in your life, so it's a very different way than financial management. That's a very big topic as well. So you see that there's like a lot of different topics with it, which also kind of both to us to coming with this kind of longevity company builder idea, where we saw that there's so many opportunities in this space and they're not going to be just like one company solving it all. So why we are not kind of building up multiple companies, and that when the second definition, like a company builder, is coming into it. A company builder is basically if you have usually have traditional VCs who are investing into startups, but they are literally like investing on those startups and they are not like building them up. And our goal was literally that we had an idea that we want to build a certain startup in this space, and then finding the right co-founders, or sometimes the co-founders were also coming to us that they had a great idea and helping them to build this up. And that's actually a quite good approach because especially in longevity, you have a lot of scientists or doctors who may have very good ideas, but they not necessarily know, okay, how do I commercialize this or how can I build that up? And working together with experienced entrepreneurs, which my partners are very experienced entrepreneur and at Maximum, it's of course a great opportunity to do that way faster than just doing it alone.
Is there any difference between company builder and venture builder? Because I hear a lot this term, the second one, right? Is there any difference or they are the same?
I would say that's pretty much the same.
It's the
Like
same, right?
there are a lot of different approaches. Like there are companies who they start with like for example Antler, right? They are, for example, more like they find first the founders and then the founders are pitching them the idea and building together teams. Or there are other ones which are more like accelerator, where you just go through a period of 3 months or 6 months and working together with them. And but I would say venture building and company building is probably more the same definition. Of course, it's kind of varying what's kind of the business model behind of it, how the company builder or the venture builder studio is incentivized, or how much works they do operationally, how long, and so on. So there's a lot of variation of this, but generally I think it's the same term.
Why did the founders decide on focusing strongly on longevity? Because, there are many things out there that serial entrepreneurs could focus on. Why concretely longevity?
Hmm. So I think one thing was definitely personal interest. So actually, my partners at Maximum, they were just having a very successful exit before, and they had a bit time to think, especially during COVID.
Mhm.
That on the personal level, they were very interested in the topic of longevity, and COVID was for them a really good time to connect to a lot of scientists and people because people were sitting at home and they had time. So they actually decided, in order to learn about it, to organize like a virtual longevity investor conference, which now already it's actually a quite big initiative. It's not virtual anymore, and it bringing together literally everyone from the longevity community every year. And that's kind of where they kind of started to learn about it. And then they saw, of course, there is a huge opportunity, and especially what we were discussing about, all of these demographic changes, that we are getting older and the society is changing, and chronic diseases and all of these factors. It's literally there is a very good opportunity also on a financial part. So very interesting, and also on a personal level, I think it was very important for them to do something which is interesting. And that's also for me, to be honest, the main driver also now, that I said when I accepted that job that it's so exciting because I can get up literally every day to think about that what we do have potentially then an impact on someone's life. And I mean that's kind of purpose. I think it's very nice.
I think it's really nice as well because nowadays it's true that we live longer, right? Because of science and food and all that. But there is this concern that we live longer, but we are living practically like zombies, like dead, right? Like you cannot even do a squat, these kind of things, right? So it's kind of like being dead already, just that you are still living. And I guess these longevity improvements are happening nowadays, and this trend that is happening, I guess, is moving us more towards live longer plus being healthy and fit, right? That's the idea.
Yes. I mean, I think the main message here is that we want to stay as healthy as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, when this decline happening, then you kind of want to die very fast in this moment. Like you don't want to spend the last 15, 20 years of your life in a really bad health and suffering and so on. So that's kind of a bit of the concept.
Okay. You said that you look for founders to lead those companies that you are trying to build, right? If I myself wanted to be a founder of one of those companies of your portfolio, how could I do that? Do I need to apply or you look for them? How does this work?
Mhm. So usually when we have already a very concrete idea, then we start to look also by ourselves for funders. So that was kind of the case with all of our most of our companies actually was kind of the case that we were looking for someone to work on it. But we also had sometimes, people coming and approaching us with a concrete idea as well. So it's both way actually is possible.
Then I saw that there are 5 companies in your portfolio right now, or there are more.
No, so in total, we invested in 5 different companies.
Mm-hmm.
And from these 5 companies, now 3 of them are very active. So those are like one of them is Avea Life. That's kind of a supplement company. They are very, very successful. They develop really amazing supplements and really based on science. They produce everything in Switzerland. They are testing everything with customers, so it's really high quality. And then we have a very exciting startup, Frida Health, which is basically focusing on menopause, because this is, of course, also something what it's pretty much like a taboo topic yet, and a lot of women are suffering from it. And they're gonna be actually the first. It's called DIGA in Germany. It's kind of a digital application which is paid by the health insurances in Germany. So it's a very exciting project. And then the third one is where I'm focusing now is AYUN, the longevity clinic.
So you're now the CEO of AYUN, right? What does AYUN do concretely?
Mhm. So maybe just kind of before I answer what we do is interesting to get into it, like why we do it, right? Like we
Yeah.
discussed already about, the rise of chronic diseases. I mean, literally, if you think about now, the average lifespan in Switzerland is around 84 years old. But usually the last 10, 15 years of that, we are really spending it in bad health. Usually people even have like multiple chronic diseases such as dementia or diabetes or cardiovascular issues as well. And right now, if you think about the medical system, we have actually in Switzerland, in my opinion, a really, really, really great health system. We have amazing doctors. But the problem, what we are kind of facing, that they can do a lot once you have these sicknesses to try to, feel better, or if you have, I don't know, cancer or so on, there is a lot of innovative treatments what we can do, but it's literally it's focusing on the fact that you are sick, and we kind of looking for a solution what we can do now. And there were some offers already a bit before, like a step before, like there have been a lot of clinics already which were doing like preventative checkups and so on. But those were usually, maybe just doing some cancer screening or some ultrasound, or just kind of seeing that, do I detect now a sickness already, like earlier, before maybe, you are already in a very bad status of it. Or you can also see now it's getting very popular. There are startups offering, for example, full body MRIs.
Mhm.
I think that's a very good idea. So I literally have nothing against that as well. But the problem is that you do these MRIs and they can say maybe that you have cancer or not, but this is like a moment, like this moment we can say that you don't have cancer. It's a valuable information. But what we wanted to do is, what if we doing it really one step before? What if we could already um, anticipate that what problems you will have? So detect actually like 10, 20 years even before you start to have those sicknesses. And the way to do it is actually we collect a lot of data points. So during our checkups, customer can book basically a checkup with us.
Mhm.
And during our checkups, we really do a lot of different kind of tests to get basically a very holistic understanding also of how your biology and how your body is working. So um, your journey starts already before you come into your clinic. You answering like a lot of different health questions about yourself. Then on the day of your checkup, you have a 1 hour conversation already with your doctor, which is already like pretty amazing, because I think we all used to it that usually in the normal health care system, maybe you have 10 or 15 minutes, but not an hour about really thinking about your issues and so on. And then on the day of your checkup, you do a lot of different tests. Like one thing is, for example, which is very interesting, it's something called like a body composition test, where you can see different risk factors. So, for example, you can learn about your muscle mass, which is extremely important when you are aging as well. Or you can see, do you have like visceral fat? And that's very interesting, because a lot of young people who, they look athletic and they do a lot of sports and so on. And you would say that they don't have any fat and so on, but they still have this visceral fat around the organs, which is like very bad. You can check bone density and so on. These are all very key factors also, kind of to give you an insight where are you standing now. And then we combining those data also with a physiological test. So we are doing, for example, a VO2 max test, which is basically showcasing that you are on a bicycle with a mask, and we are kind of measuring how well your body is able to also utilize also oxygen and so on. And this is giving you a lot of insight about your cardiovascular health and so on. We do like reaction tests, flexibility tests, so like a really full physiological checkup as well, to see that basically your muscles or everything what you are bringing with yourself together, are you also able to use that in the way that you should use it as well. Then an important part is also blood test and also genetic test. And
Mhm.
genetic test is, I think, people always a bit of afraid of that when they hear it, like, well, okay, I don't want to know anything about my genetic. And I'm always telling them that actually we are not gonna tell you that you're gonna have now, I don't know, like a 5 times higher risk of getting cancer, because honestly, what can you do with this information? Getting scared about it and not too much. Well, maybe you do a bit more often screenings of certain things, but it's not really helping you. That's not what we do. What we do with this genetic test is to get an understanding of which processes are in your body working in a good way and which processes are maybe not working in an efficient way. That's very individual for everyone as well, what kind of risk factors you are bringing with yourself. So, for example, if we already see that you have a problem with your bone density, but we also see that on genetically you have a bit of a risk there, we can maybe do certain things different. Or in my case, for example, we figured out that I have a very more difficulties to utilize vitamin D or certain minerals and vitamins and so on. So you can learn really a lot about how your body is working. And we are always also saying that, okay, what can we do about it? Because if you cannot do anything about it, then it doesn't make too much sense to kind of learn it. And then we do also like a lot of additional tests as well, like microbiome test or so on. So it's really a very holistic approach, over 150 data points. And then I think what is also quite unique about is that one thing to have the data, but how do you also interpret that data? That's actually even the more difficult part of it. And here we have a very holistic concept. So we have different doctors with different specialties, from genetic experts to internal medicine and so on. We have women health expert, because actually women health, that would be alone a topic I could talk like an hour long. Why is that so different? And so on. We have nutritionists, we have sports scientists. So we are kind of bringing all of these experts together, and they are creating then you basically also a plan, make also a kind of a prioritization, and also customizing in a way that you can really also do it. Because, it doesn't help you if I say you should do now, I don't know, 5 times or 6 times sport per week, but that's literally not possible with your schedule and lifestyle. So you really kind of need to put together all of these factors, and then also help really people how you can implement those changes.
So it's really a full checkup, right? It's like you check everything.
It's a full checkup for you to understand literally how your body is working. So it's less about that we want to detect your diseases. Those kind of checkups you can do at other spaces. Here it's really to giving you a guidance, and I really recommend also to very young people to do that. We have like special packages also for young people, where you literally do this DNA analysis, you do this assessment, and you really get like a really good guidance also on what you should focus. And I think this is like literally very, very helpful.
How long does it take this checkup? So if I want to do one, what should I do, and how long is going to take?
It's around 3 to 5 hours depending which package you are doing. So it's not too long, to be honest. It's yeah.
And how much does it cost, more or less?
So we have three different packages. The first package is starting somewhere around 2,500 Swiss francs, and the biggest package is around 7,500 Swiss francs. This now sounds maybe, it's a bit expensive on it, but honestly, if you think around it, that you have more than 8 hours of doctor time and nutritionist and sports scientist time, then it's actually kind of a good offer. But what we try to do here, because I think, in Switzerland, there are a lot of people who can do that and afford it. And I think it's also nice to invest if you can in your health and so on. But what we also really do a lot, working together with insurances as well. So, for example, if you have a supplementary insurance, a lot of them are covering a cost of it. There are insurances which are covering up to 1,500 francs. So, of this as well, which is again very good. We're working also together with companies who are also offering to their employees, this kind of checkups and so on. And we also working now more and more also to try to really work together also with the regular insurance, because there are also some people coming to us, especially for example for the women health. We have a lot of women coming to us because they have certain issues like endometriosis or so on, or menopause. They are suffering from those symptoms, and in those cases, of course, if you already have a problems, then a part of that also could be covered by the basic insurance. So kind of our goal here was that, this type of checkups, what I just mentioned, like 2 or 3 years ago, you were only able to do it if you went to a luxury clinic and standing there a week and paying kind of a six figure. And our goal is now to kind of
Democratize it.
democratize it. And also next year, for example, our strategy is also going more to do also some digital checkups, so that not everything is on site, but you can also do a bit of digital checkup available for everyone else. And we also actually developed our own software from the sketch to be able to analyze those data, and also using a lot of AI and so on to kind of reduce this expert time. We don't not gonna reduce it fully. That's not gonna happen, in my opinion. And it was also for us very important that we kind of start with a physical location, because what we do is so new that you kind of need to have an understanding of what people want. But ultimately, our goal is that we really want to make that also available as many people as possible, and that we want to go kind of a digital checkup way.
So if I do this checkup, I pay the money, and now what should I do next? So I know already my whole body, so what's going on inside, and I know the tips that I need to follow to have a healthy life. What next? Is there some kind of follow-up?
Yeah, so I mean, first, when you did all of this test, you need to wait around 4 to 6 weeks until you have all the results together and we are analyzing them. And then you have different consultations. So you have a doctor consultation, but you have also a sport consultation. You have also consultation with your nutritionist because guidance is very important. Like you cannot overwhelm people with just information and this is it. And we also have it a bit of an approach instead of telling you know everything what you could do is really to say Ivan, for you, now this is the main focus. Concentrate now on it. Once we get this done, then we're gonna come for focusing for the next one. So the way how we want to work with our clients is really to build with them a long-term relationship. And now we have been open for a year, and we already see that already around 25% of the customers who did this checkup came back already to do kind of a retest. And the retest thing is the great thing is about that financially, that's not anymore such a big expense because we obviously don't need to retest. I mean, like your
Yeah.
genetic, for example, is not changing, like you cannot do too much there and so on. So we usually focus just on those factors. And then we tell you, okay, what's kind of the next thing what you can optimize and see what is working. So this is not something that, okay, this is it now and you have it. We all change a lot. We go through different life stages. We kind of really want to give you of a guidance also that what is then the next, what should you focus on and so on.
It would be nice to have this in an app, by the way. So you have to pay a recurring revenue for you.
So we
Just
have
an idea.
so we have actually our online customer facing software already, so the customer can see all of their data on it. And we are now also literally working also on the app where we can, you know, for this digital checkup idea, what I just mentioned, to kind of do that. And also this aftercare. Like this is, I think, the biggest difficulty for most of the longevity companies and startup. We are measuring so many things, like we can measure everything, but what we kind of do with it and how we integrate like all these behavioral changes into our life, that's kind of the difficult part. And this is literally where we are also working and see how much technology is also going to be able to support here.
You said that you're working with many experts, and those, especially in Switzerland, are quite expensive. Are they part of the company or they are outsourced? Do you work with clinics, other clinics?
No, they are all of our own employees.
Okay, that's interesting. And so yeah, it makes sense the price then.
I mean, you cannot outsource this. Like, so let's say it like, so we, for example, we have very good doctors, but also one key aspect here was that most of the doctors and don't really understand like scientific studies or science of it. It's because it's just not part of the education, right? They're great doctors, how to treat sicknesses. But we were actually very lucky because basically my co-founder or medical director, so to say, has a very unique background. So she is, on one hand, is also a doctor, but after her medicine studies, she also did a PhD, like in genetics. So she's also a scientist. And she was one of the person, I mean, we worked with a lot of different PhDs and experts and doctors to put together a medical concept. Like before we started AYUN, we have been working almost like 2 years just on this medical concept. Like, what do you really do it? So this is not something what you can outsource. You really need to teach also doctors and having a concept of how we are doing it. And also, you know, science is advancing very fast. So you need to kind of also learn and train people and so on. So this is not something just kind of anyone, you know, could do. It's really important that we onboard those people, that we are teaching them those things as well. So that's why you cannot really outsource it just for other people.
Giorgio and I are having struggles, hard hard struggles to sell and do marketing on our own startup. How do you do that in Ayun? So what's your marketing channels and sales? How do you sell?
Yeah, so I mean, you can imagine that if it's about a product which costs somewhere between 2,500 and 7,500 francs, it's not a type of product where you just watching Instagram and then suddenly someone is recommending you and you go and yeah, of course I'm gonna buy that. Like that's not how that works. So for us, it was actually from the beginning very important that we do a lot of learning actually and also teaching about the topic. Like because people usually don't understand like what we are doing. Like this is kind of the starting point and why should I do that? And you know, we had some early adopters, of course, who were like very interested to it, or you know, we had some friends who who said, yes, I really want to kind of try it. And the funny thing was that all of those early adopters who did it, like most of them really, once they saw what the results they're really getting, they really signed up the entire family. They recommended to friends, because you just don't know what you get before if you didn't do that. Like you see that so many things are which can help you really to influence your health. And that's still up to today our biggest channel. Like 30% of the new leads are coming actually from referrals, which I'm very happy with it, because this is for me, it's the best sign. Absolutely, because people are trusting us with the health of their family, of their friends, based on that they did the checkup. So that's definitely very important channel. And also this kind of awareness, it's important. So we do, for example, a lot of events. People can come actually into our clinic. Like this is not a place where you cannot go. It's a walk-in clinic. So you can literally, we are at Uranierstraße in the middle of the city center. You can just walk there and go and check what we are all doing and so on. And we are showing you so you can kind of an understanding. And that's why we do, a lot of events. We do a lot of educational topics and so on, webinars and so on. And usually what we see is that it takes a while. Like the clients start to be with us in contact, and it, the lead time can be somewhere around 6 months to a year until people kind of then decide to make this kind of decisions. It's not like something, you instantaneously say, well, today I just gonna book that.
You said that by when you joined in 2021, you didn't even know what longevity was, right? Do you still have this struggle to teach your clients? So, for instance, what does someone come to you and tell you what's longevity? What are you talking about? Or is this changing already? Like everybody's aware that what's longevity and what they need to do.
So, I mean, the general awareness is there. I think people know about the topic of longevity, but I see that people are very much overwhelmed with the topic, because it's not really like credible sources. You have so many information, and for you to kind of figure out, okay, do I go now to AYUN, or do I go into another company, or what are they doing kind of different, and so on. I think that's now a bit more the challenge. So not the topic of itself of longevity, but really kind of explaining people why is our approach better, why we are not saying it just we want to do a blood check for you and so on. And we do very different things. Like for example, a 25-year-old, it's coming to us, it doesn't make sense that we are doing 70 blood parameters for a person like that. So we have a different package for those people than someone who is maybe, I know, 60 and having already multiplied issues and so on. Then you do like different things, and to explain that, I think that's kind of now more the challenge, and to see that yes, that's kind of your credible source, instead of just like generally saying that longevity is like important. I think people are aware of, young generation, Gen Z, we really see a big interest on the topic, less drinking but more cold plunges and so on and so on. So it's a kind of a shifting mindset.
Do you think it's improving this mindset? Like new generations are taking care more of themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for me, even surprisingly, like the age group of our customers, like I thought we're gonna have way older. I mean, obviously we have in all kind of age ranges customers, but now even the biggest group is between 30 and 40 of our customers, which is also kind of a sign that people are really starting to think already about those topics very early on.
Do you think is this a risk for your business? Like if people are healthier, maybe they don't need or they don't think they need this kind of checkups, or you think it's even helping it because
I
they
mean,
really see the benefit of the checkup.
people when they are young, usually they are healthy. So the point is that once you are, in these last 15 years also of your life, you just, if you don't know, for example, what processes are working well in your body, and you don't like, you can do a sport, and obviously those things are very good, like the most important things, like sport and sleep and nutrition and so on. But if you don't know exactly how to do that right for your body, then you may be doing also something different. And you see people, some of them are like even overtraining. There are people where we say like, look, you should do even less than that, because that's not good for your body, this is causing a lot of stress and so on. So yeah, I mean, I think everyone, I mean, if I could wish that, I would love if everyone could have such a checkup, and even earlier on, even when you are like still a kid and something. I mean, that's like very visionary. We have a long way to go when, you are in a hospital and they're telling you that this is kind of the DNA of your kid in a way of, I mean, this is very controversial topic, right? But
Mhm.
that I think in terms of health prevention, we should already start with kids, like and so on, and should be also the part of your life. So yeah, I think this is gonna be always a topic. Yeah.
Definitely. Before we move to longevity, I wanted to close up this section with two additional questions. One is something Giorgio and I care about, which is AI, obviously. You said already that you are using AI for the data aggregation, I guess. I can think of also this follow-up process in an app that you have, maybe an AI coach or so. Are you using AI in any way, or you are planning to?
Mhm. Yes, so there is a lot of plan to use it. I mean, the beginning, maybe also with this follow-up or aftercare, this is exactly now a topic also what we are internally discussing a lot. We were before to say that we do a lot of automation. We really wanted to first understand also the processes, because sometimes people make the mistake that they just start to automate things without really thinking through the processes. So
Yes.
we just had a discussion yesterday about something where we were discussing, well, we should automate that, and we literally said, no, we gonna write now this aftercare email to each of these customer like manually, because we want to learn. We want to learn so that once we do this automation, then we have a good way, and then you can get AI like and technology to help you with it. But that was something I think you should really think about in every business, is that you think about the processes and what you really want to achieve with it, and then kind of getting the right tools to automate also things. So I think that's one thing. What we did though already very early on, when we started to build, so we build our own software. So it's very important, of course, for healthcare that you have a protected software, in Switzerland, hosted, and all of these kind of regulations, very important. For us was extremely important that from the beginning on, we build a software in a way that we can really structure those data, because it's very important that you kind of see what learnings you make also for you individually. Like we developed also, for example, and there we also using some algorithms and so on as well, like a score for every person. So once you come to us, you have like a score which we developed, and then for us to able to track that what kind of intervention has what kind of impact to you. That's very important. That's already something where we have a quite good basis, and we can do like basic analysis also for clinical engine. And this is definitely something that along the way we also want to work on. So that's like one part where I see that AI works. And then what you mentioned with all of this customer care and organizing also these processes. And then ultimately, I think also what is very important to help also the physicians and the experts also to reduce their workload, because that's actually what it's kind of making it very expensive. So I truly believe that you also always wants to have a doctor, and you want to have also the experts, but now the process of a doctor and the experts to prepare all of these reports and everything, it's way longer than I think what it could be maybe in 2 3 years, when we have maybe also here an AI assistance for them and doing the work. So this is definitely now something what we are working on, and that's kind of also our plan to focus now over the next years to come.
I think
And the
it's
last
also
question.
a very different kind of AI, right? Than I think most people nowadays, you say AI and they think ChatGPT and generating text. I think obviously when you talk about what doctors could use, it's a very different kind of AI, isn't it? I
Yes,
think
and
with all the data you can gather, all the data points you will get from your exams, you can do like you give them superpowers, right, to your physicians.
yes, and yeah, just to really, I mean, there is no, and also just to think of it, like there is, even if you have like an amazing doctors, it's no way that you can process so many data by yourself. Like, so even now, like it's very important that we have this kind of structured way of processing all of this data, because otherwise all of these data points, I mean, I mentioned over 150 data points already now with the checkup. It's like no one is able to process all of this information at once. And here you can really have a lot of help from AI.
You helped to build all those 5 companies in Maximum. Why did you choose AYUN?
Yeah, that was actually very so I mean very, how do you say, like I just kind of jumped into it in a way, like it was not planned. So funnily that this year, so I took over now the CEO role like in May this year. And this year was again one of those years when I kind of thought that, okay, now this is going to be the year when I'm not going to do so much because our companies, we are now in our, with our investment fund of Maximum, we are in the stage that we have our portfolio companies now, and it's more like support. So I thought that maybe this year is going to be a bit less. But then basically I was already very much involved also in the beginning of AYUN, like hiring people and setting it up and so on. And I was then also the chairwoman of the company, and I was getting more and more involved. And then we had some changes in the team where I basically said that, okay, I will now be even more involved in this. And then eventually I kind of realized that, well, actually, I really love what I'm doing. So there is no reason for me now to look for someone else to do that. And that was kind of the conclusion also in the entire team and also the others. So it happened literally without any plan of me to do that. It happened really like very spontaneously, but I'm extremely happy about it. And it also kind of showcased me that I think I love more this type of work, working for one startups, because in a Maximum, I was involved, as you mentioned, in different startups, and I loved it as well. But ultimately, there's a one point where you cannot go deeper in the topic. Yeah. And I kind of realized that actually I love to do stuffs. Like I don't want to just, you know, evaluating startups or kind of like I really want to get my hands dirty. And I just realized now with this experience at AYUN that how much actually I love that.
It matches pretty good with your background, yes, to get your hands dirty, right? Go to the actual struggle.
And it's a funny, like it's really a very interesting, exciting position because on the one hand, you need to think as a CEO, like very strategically, like what do I want to do, in the next years, all of these topics we just discussed now. And so what is kind of our business model. So you work a lot of strategical topic, but on the other hand, it's also very on-site. Like I'm also in the clinic. I go there a lot of times on Saturday and I'm one of the health guide because I just want to talk to customers. I want to see how the processes are working. You kind of it's a kind of a mixture of a position where you need to be on one hand you need to be able to do strategical work, but on the other hand you need to be really this kind of hands-on person, also thinking about customer processes and so on. And I think this kind of mixture, it's challenging, but this is kind of what I like, that I can do a bit all of it.
Yeah, you can see it in your face when you talk about it, right? That you are really passionate.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, let's move to longevity. You already explained what longevity is, right? But one question one might have is if you could summarize some of the important tips that I could follow to increase my longevity, what would be that?
So obviously I would always start with it first. Let's get an understanding of your body. So do a checkup at AYUN. But ultimately afterwards, I mean, look, the most important pillars, we pretty much know that, right? Like sleep, extremely important. And here with sleep, it's also interesting to see that we have, for example, clients, we always ask them, how do you rate your sleep? And it's very interesting that sometimes they kind of own perception about their sleep quality is very different also what we are measuring. So we also measuring, for example, heart rate variability, and we put on you a small device where we can, see that how does it goes with your sleep and with your stress and so on as well. And that's like something I think a lot of people underestimate and don't put enough effort on the topic of sleep. So I think this is really just so key. So really, if you want to do something nice, start with that. Movement, I mean, that's literally, I think, the best longevity drug you can take. And then of course nutrition, like that's a very important things. And if you have these three things right, then of course you can do a lot of things like in addition on top of it, but I think that's kind of the basis. And yeah, there's not a secret, like mysterious things you can do and so on. These are the basics, and I think these are the best things to follow. Yeah.
There are two things actually being commented lately. One is the muscle building, right? Which is kind of like always a taboo for women, especially whether they were saying no, I don't want to do those exercises because then I will build muscle like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's like, yeah, of course. Of course you will. And also the psychological part of it, right? Like being in a community, because isolation, loneliness is also killing people, right, around the world.
Absolutely.
Are these things also being treated in AYUN, for instance?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you mention actually mental health, because it's literally, I think, how we, are processing also stress, how we are the socializing factor. And that's kind of a big problem in our society now. Like everyone on their phone and not really talking to each other and so on. And these are very important aspect of it as well. So what we do at AYUN, we have as part of the health screening, we also do a mental health screening.
Okay.
So it's that's something what we already integrated into the concept of self. And then I would also say that a lot of those topics when we kind of working on how to integrate into your life, there is also a lot of psychology involved. My ultimate goal is also for next year to really go even farther and really working with experts. So we have, for example, a very nice advisory board where we also hired now someone as an advisor, so to say, who is really coming from the mental health area and so on. And that's definitely something I really want to put also a lot of focus on, because it's really a part of it. And there are things what we do at AYUN. So I was telling you about the health checkups, but we also offer some treatments. And we have, for example, also cold plunge events when people are coming together and so on. So we also organize a lot of community events there as well, and offer different treatments which can also help with some of the mental health struggles. We have, for example, a lot of people who have burnout and coming to us. We have, for example, a cryo chamber, and some of them likes to use the cryo because it's literally, I don't know if you ever tried a cryo, but it's you go into minus 110 degree for 3 minutes long. And for me, it's every time I came out, I kind of feel that everything is all right again, like if you have a stressful day and so on. So there's like a lot of kind of things what you can also support yourself. And for that, we also do these kind of treatments.
Minus 10 degrees for 3 minutes, you said.
Yes.
And you can survive that.
Yes, you can survive that. Look, it's what I always tell people, that imagine a sauna, and this is now a cold sauna. We also get into the
True.
sauna, which is 90 degree or even higher or whatever. Like you don't have the feeling when you enter in a sauna that, oh my God, I'm like burning, right? Like, it's warm. You feel it's warm. But here is also the kind of the same thing. Um, it's you enter in this minus 110 degree and you feel that it's cold, but you don't feel it that it's that cold, like, because it's very different if you go to the water. So for example, for me, going to the 0 degree or 1 degree or 2 degree, kind of the cold water, that's not my thing. I tried. I need to admit this is not something what I am comfortable with and can do. But the cryo, no problem. No problem. And yeah, you should definitely come and visit me and try this out.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I like this cold thing, right? I do it in the river because it's cheaper and I have it in front of me.
That's good. If you can do that, that's obviously very nice. I mean,
It's probably less than minus 10 right now.
maybe what is that, but what is also very interesting, so if you do this cold plunge, where we see a very good scientific evidence is more if you do like a kind of contrast therapy where you really combine like sauna with cold. So there's even more scientific evidence on that. So that's actually a good combination, and that's also something what you can do. But yeah, I mean, there are also other treatments like, we offer, for example, hyperbaric chamber also, which is literally, I think, like, or treatment is like almost always sold out. Like there's almost no place because people love it also so much. So yeah, there are some interesting things, but people who are interested in longevity can kind of check in our clinic.
And why 3 minutes? Because longer, maybe you get a cold or something like that? Or is there a point that you get sick?
Well, I mean, one point, as you say, that you would literally freeze there, so you don't want it too long. You can do a bit longer. So we have some people who want to, do around 4 minutes and so on. But usually, what we more recommend then that you can also vary the intensity. So even during these 3 minutes, you can vary the intensity. You can make it a bit stronger, more wind or less wind. Like I don't do any wind. I don't like that at all. Like people who want to have it fully, what we do, we measure basically your skin temperature before you get into the cryo and also after, and then we really try to personalize for you the protocol, like what's the best for you, and that we kind of figure out with customer that what is what they tolerate well, what is good for them, and then we figure out that how to put that together.
What about the muscle building? Is this is a new trend that experts are saying globally that you need to build muscle to live longer. Is this really a fact?
Absolutely. This is, I mean, the problem is that once we are aging and we don't need to think like 50, 60, even now, 30s and 40s, you're losing every year muscles. Like if you don't do anything, literally losing muscles. And that can cause a lot of problems. Like, you can get osteoporosis. So, having with your bones, you can have what we see also that a lot of people like stability is a problem, and but in general like all kind of physical performance is really a big problem. So I mean, if I could subscribe to everyone something, it would be definitely to kind of doing muscle building. Like right now, for example, I have very limited time also because, I am also having a small kids and a very busy life. Then what I really try to do is to really have, even if the week is busy, to make sure that I kind of have my 2 times a week, like list to building these muscles and doing some exercise there. Of course, it would be amazing if I could do more, if I would do more endurance, and I'm sure that's gonna come also one point. But it's really important, and I think it's again here you need again also nutrition. It's a very key part of it. Like you need to make sure you have enough proteins and so on to be able to build also these muscles. So I would definitely say that this is something everyone should focus on.
Many experts also are saying that aging is a sickness and therefore it could be cured. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, what is kind of the definition of the sickness, you can clearly identify it based on certain symptoms. You can see that it's getting worse and worse, and so on. So you can literally kind of say that aging itself is also a sickness. I think that's kind of a good approach as well to think about that, because if you have any sickness, you are feeling worse, or you kind of try to treat it, and this is literally also happening over the time you're aging, that certain processes are not working anymore and so on in your body. So I think kind of thinking it as an illness, I think that helps also a lot to kind of think about how you can target then certain part of that process as well with different kind of therapies.
Do you believe in immortality?
I mean, I don't think, to be honest, that this is gonna happen, but I think you should never say that something is not happening if you don't have the proof. But I honestly really think that this is way too complicated and that that's not gonna, uh, I think, happen in our lifetime, but probably never. Like, I don't know, like no one knows that for sure. But I think this is really very challenging. Honestly, even now, like there is a lot of scientific advancement, but we didn't make too much progress yet on extending like now the lifespan of people. Like I think the longest recorded lived person is I think around 122 it was. So I think what we estimate now that this kind of lifespan for human is probably somewhere around 120, maybe 125. And yeah, you can do some scientific advancement, but I think one point you're really reaching kind of a biological limitations on. But of course, I'm not a scientist, so this is literally just like my personal opinion on it. And it's also not something that I spend a lot of time with because, as I said, it's not really now my goal to, what you said in the beginning of the talk, like having people and just like being zombies and so on. This is not what we want to do, and that's why it's also not really my focus. I really want to focus on more the healthier lifespan. And maybe one thing here, it's a lot of people are not thinking about what's happening when I'm 80 and so on, but I'm also saying that if you do, for example, this checkup and you start to, eat well or do your sport and so on, it's not just about that when you are 80 that you're gonna feel better. You feel immediately better, like even now your life quality. And that's actually really something. You asked me about marketing, and this is really something what we are now more also focusing it, that there are people who have sleeping issues. There are people struggling weight loss. I myself have a huge history with this topic as well. So it's also not just about that once we are 80, we are fit, but also how we can be fit now, what we can do to optimize also your body. And this is for me way more interesting than will we be now 130 or 125 or whatever years old at one point.
So your goal is to focus on the present to increase the future, I guess.
Yeah, and also to make the present more enjoyable. I mean, because in the end, first, we don't know what's going to happen. If we're going to be 80 years old, it can happen anytime, anything with all of us. Also, I believe the science will do a lot of progress. So, I mean, I don't know, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of things you can do, maybe in 30, 40 years from now as well, which you cannot do today. But I think ultimately what you should really focus on how you're feeling yourself and how can you feel yourself even better now. And that's helping so many aspects on your life. And then it's in the end, the goal of everyone should be to be happy, right? It sounds simple, but that should be in the end the ultimate goal and less just now chasing numbers, because what is a life worth if you are not happy and if you are stressed and so on? I would rather go with a shorter life, but then just, get everything out of it.
Out of curiosity, and now I ask you both, would you want to live forever if it was possible in the future?
I would suggest let's start with Giorgio. I'm curious. In my opinion about the topic.
Giorgio?
Not really, no. Maybe it's something we can't really understand, but no, not really. Living better, though, as you say, living healthier for whatever time I have available. Yeah, that I would. I wouldn't want to be old and sick. That I don't want.
You know why I want it was because it's literally everyone is saying like no, and it's very interesting because I think in an egoistic kind of way, we should definitely kind of, when people ask us, say no, we don't want that. And I also agree with Giorgio, like no one wants to be sick and then 20, 30 years longer sick and so on. It's a clear no, right? If you say no. But now, let me ask you, you are now 80 years old or 90, or you're 100 years old now, and you have more or less the physical performance of a 50, 60-year-old person. Your brain is working very well. You're feeling amazing. What do you think if this 100-year-old person you would ask, do you want to die now, today, or tomorrow? What would people say then? I don't
No,
think
sure
that
not.
almost anyone, I mean, would say that they want to die. So that's why I like this topic. It's a bit controversial. We say very fast no, and I think we all agree there's a lot of issues and topic here, but I think as soon as you are in a good shape and then it's very difficult. And I was thinking yesterday actually the question that it would be so interesting just to see the experience that how our human mind would work with it. We like imagine that we are, I don't know, 200-year old and we are still performing very well. Like, is there a point where we just so fed up that we say that this is it and we don't want it? Or would it be kind of a continuous cycle while we are feeling good, we would want to live longer? It's like very philosophical now, but it's an
I
interesting topic.
I personally have a different opinion than Giorgio. I would like to live forever, but of course with the conditions that you said, Ildi, right? Like I want to be fit, I want to be healthy. Otherwise, obviously, it doesn't make sense to move forward, right? I don't know.
Also,
We will see.
also, there is like a startup. It's very interesting. They are doing this kind of conservation of people. So once you die, the moment you die, they really basically kind of not freezing you because the technology is more like like liquid nitrogen, like what you do with the embryos. You can also preserve them. Kind of a similar technology they use. And that's also again, people would say, no, no, I would definitely not want to do that. But also here is very different. You need to see like they had I also said actually first, like, no, no, I mean, if I am like 90, I would definitely not want to do that. And probably to be honest, I would not want to do that. But now is question, you are 35, you have 3 kids, and they are diagnosing that you have pancreatic cancer in a very late stage. There's nothing we can do about it. You have 6 months to live and so on. Then what do you do? Like, would you consider this option maybe if it's available for you, that you say that, okay, maybe in 30 years or something, there will be a treatment for this kind of sickness, cancer, or whatever, what I have. Would you do then the choice that you may kind of try that? And And for me now, being a mother, just thinking about the aspect of I want to kind of see my boy growing up or adult and so on, would I try that? I mean, realistically, the chances that they will bring back people from this state is very low now, and we don't know how long it takes, and I don't know if it's ever happening. But the guy basically who's the co-founder of this company told me, when you have only two options, like one option is that you get buried or burned, or that there is a very slight chance that you can come back and maybe see your family. Again, a different dilemma, right? You are thinking of. So it's very difficult to think about this kind of topic when you are not part of it. Like, imagine you are young and you get this sickness, and you know that you're gonna die. It's not the same situation when you are 90 and you had a life where you can say that this is kind of how it's supposed to be and how that normal life cycle versus so different. So I think it's very difficult to say just yes or no about all of these things.
It's a difficult choice. I guess it's similar to doing chemo, right? Do you want to spend some months doing chemo and being feeling like shit just to have a slight chance that you survive it and you can live longer? Or you spend the rest of your days, a few rest of your days, without feeling that shitty, but with the people that you love. I always see it's a different choice, right? It's a difficult choice, sorry. Um, so yeah, I guess it's something similar, right? It's like if you want to, the remaining days, you want to spend them with your loved ones, or you want to take the risk and cut it now and wait till there is a cure, if there is ever a cure, right?
Mhm.
I think Walt Disney is doing that, right? I mean, he did that, or is this a urban legend? I think he's frozen, right?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. And it's again, I think the being frozen is, I think, a bit different than now the technology what they have nowadays, which is
Yes.
not being kind of frozen. And I don't know. I don't think that the technology was that advanced. That, I mean, I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. But I know that right now, what they can pretty much do very well. That and that's also interesting. One thing that's really interesting in this process, they don't kill you. Like, what I mean is that it's not that, oh, you have 6 months to live and now you are feeling bad and then we kill you 2 days before. No, they wait for the moment of death, and then they do the conservation. So it's not about that there are people who could live 2 weeks more or 3 weeks more and then they get killed or whatever. No, you are dead, and no, you have one choice to make. Are you going to the cemetery, or are you going to this conservation kind of process?
Okay.
So this is also a bit, again, but I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a fan of that in any way or so on. Like, it's again not my focus, but I kind of thought as an example for everyone to think about it, right? That what kind of things are, what are the motivation of different kind of people to do something or do something, not do something.
Let's move on to another interesting topic. You are a female CEO with an impressive professional track record, as we could see in the podcast already. How has this journey been, being a woman?
Yeah, it's a good question always. Like, I hope that one day we live in a place where that's not even a question, that no one is gonna ask me. And um, it's it's interesting, right? Like, if I do an interview with someone that one point is popping up, like female CEO, having kids and so on. I don't know, like, I didn't listen to many podcasts when any man is gonna get asked this question. Just also kind of telling a bit about it, right? Like, where are we? But I happy that you did ask actually the question, because it's also not the right strategy now for us to say that, well, okay, it's everything working fine and so on, because I think, like, now, like, on the top of the Swiss biggest companies, I think maybe around 6% of them are like women, and overall also in leadership positions, maybe somewhere around 10%. So we have a long way to go, and to do things, I think we need to have this conversation. So I'm always happy when people are asking me about it. I mean, for me, ultimately, I think I never thought this is a limitation factor. I always was very determined what I want to do. And I was really lucky that I was now also, or I'm in an environment that doesn't matter, so to say, and that's really good. But I heard a lot of bad experiences as well, about the topic. Also, I think when I became a mother, it was way harder for me also to kind of do this transition. And I think here it's literally my best advice would be probably to people like women in this particular case who wants to have kids to really have a partner who is not helping them but sharing the load, right? That's also a very difficult thing, like, oh, my husband is helping me, or my husband is a good help. No, your husband should not be a help. That's not a help. He is also the father. He should also do the duties. So it's not helping, it's taking care of their own children. And I think, okay, this is not the traditional family setting, right? But that's what I kind of husband, wife, what I am living. So that's my experience, what I can say, but you can say like generally your partner. So I think this is something one need to change. And then there's so many other things, like in Switzerland, it's really so difficult. Like, in Spain, for example, it's you get now as a father and a mother equal amount of maternity and paternity leave. Each of them can have 4 months with the baby, and most of the people I know, they're really doing it. Like 4 months is the mama with the baby, 4 months is the papa with the baby. And I think it's just so amazing. And in Switzerland, when my son was born, my husband had 1 day for the birth. Now it's 2 weeks. I think they changed that, but he had 1 day. So imagine if the bird is going a bit longer, then he doesn't even have a cannot attend. Like, it's just insane. And also the cost of childcare. So I mean, I really love Switzerland. I'm so thankful for everything, but this is definitely a big problem. And honestly, I think this is not a private problem. I really think this is a huge problem. Like, we have an aging population and so on. So I literally believe that every woman who is bringing kids to the world, we should really, like the whole society, even people who don't want to have kids, like, it's not about this, but everyone should cheer these people now who decide actually to have kids, and not to have this kind of difficult circumstances, because it's really difficult. Childcare costs are very difficult. um Putting the workload and everything, combining it together, it's very difficult. We don't have anymore um this village system like we used to have, that everyone was living closer and you had family members helping them. Like, studies shows that one child would equal to around 3 people to take care of that child, so that no one is burning out because they are like requiring so much attention and so on. And so it's not optimal kind of the society and way we are. And I think that makes really hard then to say that women can advance also in their career. But I'm positive that there is a lot of changes. I think in our generation, I see a lot of father who are really getting into this role. It's also the case with my husband, and that's why I would say that it's literally for women who wants to have career and children. I think one of your most important decision, that who do you want to have children with, and that's going to influence a lot also how you can advance in your career.
You're a businesswoman as well, apart from a mother, right? And many critiques in the Spanish model are that if you are going to be, if your employee is going to be 4 months away, that affects your business. And that's true. That's a fact. It affects in a way your business. How do you solve that as a businesswoman and a mother? Because you are supporting the Spanish model, but at the same time, you need to move your business forward, right?
Mhm. So I think there's one really good thing about pregnancy and getting kids, that it's pretty much plannable once you are pregnant. Like, of course, it can always come that the baby's coming, I don't know, 1 month or 2 months earlier, but in general, this is something you really have a preparation time. So this means that you have enough time usually to kind of optimize processes, finding a replacement, coming up with a strategy, what you can do. And for me now as a businesswoman, look, do you want to be in a company when you have one employee and that employee is falling out, you have zero backup plan, like what to do, and you are not even able to solve that with 9 months ahead of time? That kind of transition. And do you want to lose one of your best employees because you say you're not gonna do that? Like, for me, if I'm just thinking about, like, we are a startup, we are a small company, right? Every single one of my employees is now super important for me. But would I make that kind of sacrifice for them to do that and coming back every single moment? You just think about the replacement. I mean, even now economically, the replacement cost of someone, like all of this knowledge, all of this history with your company, and everything to it. And just to say that well, I'm not going to do it, and I just hire someone else and not supporting it. I think it's just not the definition of a sustainable business. I know that there is sometimes like really edge cases also, very small companies. It's definitely way trickier for them to maybe deal with this kind of situation as well. But I really truly believe that it's a good thing. You can plan, you can come up with a strategy, you can work on it, you can come up with a way to do it, and I think it works. If everyone wants to make that work, then I think it can work.
Since you started professionally, you already mentioned that Switzerland did some advancements, right? Before the father had only 1 day off, and now they have 2 weeks. Obviously, they are not Spain; they are not there yet. But in any other areas, have you seen already an improvement
Improvement compared to
to the past? I mean, before we knew that in a way, for women to scale the ladder, it was more difficult for many different topics, not only because they can become mothers, right? That was a big challenge. But in general, have you seen an improvement?
it,
Is it easier now to be a female woman?
I mean,
A female CEO, sorry, not a female woman.
I think it's difficult for me to say because I didn't work like 30 years ago and trying to do my way, so I assume that there is a change in a society and it's getting easier, but I really cannot quantify it, and I think there is still so many problems and so many difficulties that I just don't want to say, yeah, oh, it's easier. Yeah, for sure, a bit, for sure, it's improving a bit, but honestly, until we get, I mean, 6%, 94% top
Mhm,
position, that doesn't sound for me like a huge improvement, right? Like there
mhm.
is still so much things to do. And I mean, in my opinion, that should be 50-50. That should be 50-50. And I think in all kind of facts, everyone would profit from it. Companies, economically, everything. I think it would be nice to have this kind of 50-50. And the sad part is also that if you see like women who are like having university degrees and so on, we almost having like more well-studied women now than men. It's like there we already reached this kind of equality. And then, just think about this, those women will not be able to work in that things and use their skills, and all the money kind of lost also for like it's just such a difficult topic there. And yeah, maybe there were some improvements. Yes, there is conversation about it, and there was not a conversation about it for sure. Yes, but I think there's so many things left to do yet. So many things left to do it. And I think we underestimate it sometimes. Like I have a lot of times with my husband a bit discussion, and he has such a for him is such a normal thing that what we do is that for him is sometimes even very difficult to understand how much problem this is it, because for us it's such a natural thing that we cannot even imagine something different like that. And then if we are in our bubble when this kind of works, it's very difficult for us to even think that there are people with a different mindset than that. And yeah, that's difficult.
I need to give it to Switzerland one thing actually, and it's true that in the 70s, in certain cantons, the women couldn't vote yet, right? But nowadays we have female presidents in Switzerland, which is something that Spain, this progressive country, didn't have yet, right? Or the US. They had a black president, but they didn't have a female president yet. They had candidates, but they didn't win. So I need to give it to Switzerland. At least there, I'm very proud of this country, unlike my own country. But yeah, moving on. And you gave already some tips to women that want to become mothers while keeping their professional career, right? But in general, if there were women not only that they want to pursue their career path, but also to achieve CEO level or C levels, will you have some tips for those women?
So I think one thing you should not do is like I sometimes I talk also friends of mine or also employees who, maybe they are close to an age where they want to have children, and they quit even before that happens. Like, I'm not sure if I want to do because next year this promotion, because next year I get pregnant, whatever. I think don't quit before it, like just go for it. Like don't overthink that. No man would think ever about that. Also, I think women, we generally have a bit of a problem. Like I saw that as a recruiter actually, that when I had a job description and you had, I don't know, like 8 criteria, if men were not fulfilling 5 of them, they kind of still applied. If the woman was fulfilling 7 out of the 8 and maybe one not, that they didn't apply. So this kind of thing, just trust yourself, go for it what you want, and don't wait people that they just gonna recognize that you are doing a good job and then they're gonna come for you. And this is not happening. This is something like it's really not happening. That's a problem of a lot of women, that we are not visible. We are just in the background doing an amazing job, and then we hope that at one point someone is gonna recognize that, and then you get a promotion or something. You need to push for things, you need to ask for things. So I think that's really important. And once you have kids, I think for me the difficult was that I didn't really have role models, or too many role models for me, of people who are doing something um similar. And that's why I think I did also some things in the beginning what I would now do different. I mean, I think, if you have kids, you need a lot of support. You cannot expect that you are working, you are able to do household duties and everything in a way that someone who is staying at home or working part-time could do. Like you need a lot of support with everything, like what you can. So have a cleaning lady if you can afford it. Um, have an excessive amount of cleaning lady or people who help you with all these kind of things, and have a nanny, have an au pair, have a whatever you need support of. Try to have that, and don't expect yourself to doing the job everything together. This is like not gonna work. And that's actually even more difficult if you work for a startup or if you're an entrepreneur, because then it's really difficult because you don't have usually like the kind of salary you can afford all of these things. So this is even making it more complex, because if you have maybe in a corporate job which is very well paid, well, I know people who literally have a household keeper person every single day. I'm making all of them because both of the people are earning very well salaries, and then they want to spend a lot of time with their kids, so they basically outsource everything from shopping till cleaning to everything. That's very nice. But yeah, again, if you're thinking about the startup reality, when you are barely surviving or bootstrapping something, or you don't have a good salary, that's getting then even more challenging. So yeah, it's tricky.
Ildi, thank you very much for your time and all your insights. It's really an inspiring story, and we really hope that inspires more people out there. Most of our audience is from Zurich, by the way, so potential customers, if you want to tell them something.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, I was also very happy to be in this podcast, and yeah, I always love to talk about what we're doing. And yeah, I mean, if any one of the customers really just got a bit inspired and want to get to know us, you can literally, as I said, walk into the clinic. You don't need an appointment, but yeah, you can also contact me, on LinkedIn and so on. We organize a lot of event, which you can see on our website, where you can learn more about us and so on. So yeah.
We will leave your LinkedIn in the description so people can find you easily and contact you if they're interested. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Ildi.
And talk to you guys in 2 weeks.